welcome back to my channel. I am Tracy Robert, the Fit Chick Cancer Thriver and the owner of Mosaic Fitness and Nutrition. And so I want to talk to you today about my experience and my results with a company called Viome. Let me start with a little snapshot of the app. Here is my recommendations. It's going to give me my foods to minimize and avoid, my superfoods, my supplements, and just all the foods I can eat. It tells me my top food sensitivities, which those can change. I talk about that later. I can look at my results and the scores I need to focus on and the supplements that would be most appropriate for my gut and my body. Love this. Here's the scores that are good and my advanced microbiome view. They also had this library of videos so that you understood the instructions, what happens when you go to the bathroom, fad diets, just a bunch of education. I found this extremely helpful. So as soon as you get the test and download the app, you can start looking into some of the stuff so you know exactly what you're doing. Wouldn't you want to know exactly what precise food recommendations or supplements that would fit into your own personalized gut microbiome, into your cellular and mitochondrial health? And that's exactly what I was looking for. So I've done a couple other tests before for food sensitivities, for my gut microbiome, things like that. And I've done that in the past. I've done elimination diets. I have suffered with IBS. Now I know that it's SIBO. About 75 to 80% of people with IBS actually have SIBO. Had colorectal cancer back in 2015. So the last 5 years I have been completely on a quest of how to recover my body after radiation and chemotherapy, as well as really get to the crux of this chronic inflammation that I have had for literally over 20 years. So when I found out I had SIBO, it kind of changed the game a little bit. Before that, I was doing some work with Dr. Daniel Pompa. If you know him or if you followed him, he's got a live podcast called Cellular Healing TV. I started paying attention to his work probably in 2011 was the first time I heard of him, but then I ended up doing his cellular healing diet. And that really helped to bring my inflammation down. I had 25 extra pounds on me post-cancer and menopause that I just could not get off of me. And trust me, I am like the poster child for health and fitness. Like I have always eaten really good, really healthy, but still had inflammation, chronic inflammation all the time. So 2018, I start doing some stuff with Dr. Pompa, following him, reading his books, started water fasting, all of the things that I could find that were alternative methods to help improve my health, my cellular health, my gut health, all of the things. So in 2019, towards the beginning of it, I found out that I had SIBO. And so I did the traditional stuff first. I tried the antibiotics. Just because I had suffered for so long, I just was like, I'm just gonna try it. Did some different specific carb diets, low FODMAP diets. I tried all kinds of things and really nothing worked until Dr. Pompa came out with something called the his SIBO protocol. And I have more videos on that. If you look under Tracy's Got Guts in my playlist, I share all of that with you. But more importantly, I really wanted to know, after I had done the SIBO protocol, I actually got about 80% better. And that was huge for me because in 20 years, nothing worked. So it was a combination, it was very comprehensive, and that was a combination of things like supplementation, water fasting, and I did 2 weeks on the carnivore diet. So there were some diet variations. And then that led me into adding back some foods that are considered low FODMAP. After about the 6-month mark, what does my gut microbiome look now? And do I still have all the food sensitivities that I had years ago? After I had cancer, one thing I really understood is how it affects our cell. We hear a lot about DNA, right? The double helix. We even have a, what do we call that? Little emoji that shows the little double helix. And it's important because that codes all of our traits, right? The color of our eyes, our skin, you know, all that stuff. But more importantly is RNA. And what that does is it's a single, it's not the double helix, it's like a single helix. Well, that is like your runner. That's how I used to think of it when I was a biology major. R stands for runner. That was always in my mind. It was the messenger. So if the DNA is kind of hanging out in the house, like chilling, RNA is going to go take the mail and go put it in the mailbox so that it can get to where it needs to go. That's a really simple way of putting it, but basically RNA will be able to work with the proteins in our body. Let me show you some of the things that I got and what I learned about the things that I need. Once you get your test kits, you download the app and you begin with this questionnaire. You fill all this information in, put your code in, and it will give you information when they received your sample, when you should retest. And all of your information will go into this app when it's ready. Here's the test results for me. This is going to be the things that are good, what I need to work on. I can look at all my scores. I'm going to click on some of this. This is going to show my active microbes. Now, I did actually go to Google and look up some of this stuff. And for about 2 hours, I was just curious. I was a science major, so some of this is intriguing to me. But I wanted to see what types of things they found in there, what little critters were in my actual gut microbiome, which I thought was really cool. So I clicked on Archaea. I found this fascinating. I was diagnosed with SIBO a year before this, and I was diagnosed with high methane, and that comes from Archaea, not from bacteria. So as you can see, there's no evidence of it, which is fantastic, which means that I'm healing. All right, they found pepper and tomato virus in my gut microbiome. This was huge for me. My consumption of these foods was often, and my gut microbiome did not appreciate it. So I needed to get rid of them for about 90 days, and that was challenging, but I definitely am feeling better. All right, we're gonna get into what needs improvement. This is where I started learning about butyrate and how my body was not producing enough of it. I spent a good, probably a couple hours just on YouTube videos educating myself on butyrate. This gives you a little snapshot. I love that Viome does this because I'm not out here trying to find it on the interwebs unless I choose to go out and research it a little bit more. Bell peppers and tomatoes. Okay, I ate these all the time. It doesn't mean you can't have them forever, but those foods in conjunction with the fact that I have these couple viruses that are hanging out in my body, when those two come together, it can create inflammation and make me not feel very well. And then again, you're not going to be able to use those foods, which are really healthy, good foods full of nutrients and phytonutrients and all kinds of great things for your body. If it comes in contact with something that's going to not be good for your system, then you're going to end up not feeling well. Knowing that I had these couple viruses in there, that if I ate those specific vegetables, it's not going to mix really well. So some of the reasons that you need to avoid some of these foods is that you could have this virus and then it infects the plant that you're eating, and then because it's in your microbiome, and then you don't feel great. It's going to lead to inflammation. It's going to lead to chronic illness. Good old food sensitivities. Let's talk about these. Here's what came up for me. shows you high sensitivities, medium, low, and none at all. So it was awesome. I had no highs. Medium was chicken egg, which was interesting. And there's my low sensitivities. And then no sensitivities detected. This was huge because I don't know about you, but I've had several food sensitivity tests done. And what I've learned is how often those can change. And the problem is your gut and fixing and healing the gut first and foremost. I spent so much time trying to eliminate foods, change my foods, 6 months here, 3 months there. All the while, that wasn't the problem. The problem was, how do I fix my gut? So I believe Viome has done away with the food sensitivity test, partly because of that. But in mine, I received an elimination plan, which I've done these before. And again, like I said, it was always tricky for me. I had SIBO. If you look at the foods that are good for me, some of those are on the SIBO list. But I had been healing my gut, so I was able to tolerate certain foods that I had never been able to tolerate before. Check out the foods that I'm supposed to avoid. All right, let's click on my foods to avoid. It's going to come up with a list of the things I need to avoid and then the things I need to minimize. Now, a lot of this I knew because of healing my gut from SIBO over the last year. The good thing about the minimize category is if I clicked on cane sugar or say grapes, it'll tell me about how much I should have. And that is based on my current gut microbiome, which has the ability to change, and what I can tolerate. All right, let's click on bell pepper and dive a little deeper. It's going to tell me my microbiome's response to a bell pepper. And since I have a virus, it's going to give me an inflammatory response. So it's just educating me on that. It's also going to tell me if I have a food sensitivity to it. So just because I have a virus doesn't necessarily mean I have a food sensitivity to it. Guys, it's also going to give you food tips on how to cook food, shop for foods, and prepare your meals, which is really great, especially if you're not somebody that knows a lot about how to prepare certain vegetables or certain foods. So as you can see, I'm just showing you how you can click on each individual food that you're to avoid, and it gives you a little bit of understanding as to what is going on and why you have to avoid these things. I always think we do better when we as people understand why, and also know what we can do to fix our gut, what supplements we can take, what other foods we can enter in, so that this isn't an all or nothing. This doesn't mean that forever I have to avoid tomatoes. Knowing that I have to maybe take 90 days to heal my gut, change some things over, I can retest, and then I'm able to see what other things I need to supplement with for the next time. It's a journey. Now, cassava is something that I was using when I had SIBO because it's supposed to be an alternative that you can use. It comes from a fruit, and they put it in things that are like tortillas, bread, pizza crust, things like that. And so to see that this was on my minimize list, I thought, oh my goodness. So this is really great because it was able to help me to see if I needed to change something or how much I needed to use of something. And maybe that's why I was still having inflammation issues, because I perhaps was using too much of something. Sweet potatoes are huge. I used to eat sweet potatoes all the time. It really spikes my insulin when I have sweet potatoes after I've had cancer. So a half a cup is all I'm supposed to have, and I definitely do better. So before I even took this test, I had already cut my sweet potatoes down, and I just don't eat them every day like I used to. What the heck is butyrate, and what do all these other scores mean? So I'm not going to get into all the details, but basically I had to understand that butyrate helped to protect my gut lining. Started to take a supplement, so when I retest, I'm hoping to see an improvement. Also, some of the scores that were within range, but I really want to work at improving, is my metabolic fitness. That has been something that will help since I'm now adding weight training back into my lifestyle and cryotherapy, which can also improve your metabolic fitness. So looking at these scores kind of gives you an idea of where you're at now, and then when you retest, where you've improved. So this is my intestinal gut health, showing you how permeable your gut is. Obviously, you don't want those, Swiss cheese holes in your gut, because then food particles get out into the bloodstream. The other thing is how diverse is my microbiome, and maybe if I need to change my probiotics or add something in there that can improve that score. And then I had some scores that were really good. My inflammation actually was really good, which is a really great improvement. I'm about 80% healed since I was doing a SIBO protocol, how my digestive system is working. So it goes through all these different things. All the things that were good in my gut may be different for you. And this is where I really loved how Viome was individualizing everything. Again, it goes into my active microbiomes that I showed you at the beginning. All right, here is my recommendations that Viome offers. This is awesome because it will tell me what foods are my superfoods. Now, I know most of you have probably saw something on the internet, or maybe you have a book of superfoods, and literally you're like, every food is a superfood, it seems like. But what I liked about it is what particular superfoods would benefit my gut microbiome and really add some diversity into my gut. And so I've really looked at making sure that I'm adding those specific superfoods to my regular diet. And then they will send you reminders of when your 90 days is up and when you should retest. So let's just dive deeper into this. It's showing me almonds. It's giving me a little education on almonds, what they do for your body. So again, if you're not somebody who's a nutrition coach, this is really valuable. I mean, even for me as a nutrition coach, I found it really helpful to, learn a little bit more of some of these foods based on the latest research. Which ones do I need for my gut health? If you guys are like me, then you have bought supplements that have sat in your pantry. They're still sitting there and you hardly use them because you're like, does this really work for me? And so Viome gave you specifically for your gut microbiome things that you need, so that you can create diversity in your gut and you can start essentially healing. So this was critical. What are the things that I am currently taking, and what are the things that they're recommending that I can begin to add? And is there anything I need to eliminate? Yes, good old probiotics. So I take a spore-based probiotic because I have SIBO, and I change my probiotic seasonally to help with diversity in my gut. This is another reason I liked Viome, because I was able to take a look at the list of the supplements they were recommending. I could look at the supplements I'm taking because of Dr. Pompa's SIBO protocol, and I could see if there was any holes in that. Is there anything else I need to add so that I can protect my gut microbiome? One of the things I learned when I had SIBO is that I shouldn't have the probiotic Lactobacillus acidophilus. So that's the really common one. It's in yogurt and stuff like that. And one of the recommendations is to do a spore-based probiotic from if you have SIBO. So when I looked at their supplement recommendations, one of the things they recommended was something called Lactobacillus plantarum. I don't know if I'm saying this right. I'm just trying to help you guys. Now, this is cool because listen to this, it's an antioxidant. It helps to maintain intestinal permeability, which that's that leaky gut, and helps to suppress gas production, where people who have IBS, this may be something that people with IBS who have a lot of gas, this could be a really good supplement. And so I'm kind of researching right now, okay, you know, they have a recommendation. I'm going to take a look at that recommendation, research the company, make sure it's, you know, something I want to buy. Or do I want to look, you know, if Dr. Pompa has a line or something like that with those. So I love that too, that like it gave me superfoods, it gave me foods to avoid, it gave me the supplements that I should take, and then recommendations for how to follow a diet that's an elimination diet. Because I'm a nutrition coach, so I can kind of do this sort of easy, but I work with people that struggle and are like, I don't know where to start. And so it just lays it out for you guys. I love it. I would totally give it 5 stars. They were really, really helpful. They have a ton of resources like I showed you guys in the app, as well as you can go online and log into your account, download your results. So I really like the fact that they were analyzing your, you know, the organisms in your gut, and then also how they function in your body, because you may or may not have certain things that you need. So then you know what you need to get, you know what supplements you need to get. Also, they give you a personalized nutrition plan. So I liked that because it was like, here's the recommendations they would have. So this is where these results are so critical if you have chronic illness. It's not just about the foods you're eating, and that took me a long time to figure out. It was a very frustrating journey for me to always be trying all these different things to see if, like, is this food bothering me? Is that food bothering me? Should I stop eating at a certain time? You know, fast longer? Like, what do I need to do? And I could never figure out how to fix it. So this has been such a critical piece for me to have this vital information. So they're gonna take a look at the highest resolution of your gut, right? We all like high res. And so they're not just looking at bacteria, they're looking at viruses, fungi, they're looking at archaea. I don't even know if I said that correctly. They're looking for things like yeast. So they're looking at everything that's going on in there. And that way you're able to find out, for instance, and you're gonna see when I show you the video here of I have 4 different viruses that showed in my gut microbiome. Okay, and that can be like, oh my gosh, how do we get rid of these viruses? This is just normal. You know, a lot of times in our guts, we're gonna have all kinds of stuff running around. It's a scientific approach, peer-reviewed journals. It's not just a blood test. You know, it's not just one shot of an IgG, you know, Alicia test, and then, okay, this is your food sensitivities. Food sensitivities are so tough because it can come and go. But more importantly, it's because usually there is an imbalance in your gut microbiome. So it's more important to understand what's going on in your gut. Try to fix that, whether it is what we call leaky gut, layman's terms, or intestinal permeability. If that's the case, what do we need? What do we need to do to improve that? And the first company to offer certified RNA sequence technology. This helps to analyze in a certified lab your specimen, so there's some quality control. So what Viome does is it sequences the RNA inside of that sample. And then they can identify, okay, here is the microorganisms living in your gut microbiome, and here's how they function. And that's what's important, because it's not just the DNA, it's also about what it does. And is it capable of doing what it's supposed to do, or do you need a little upgrade? The other thing I really loved about it is it tells you what superfoods work for your body. What are the superfoods you need? You know, how many times have you looked at an Instagram post or a Facebook post and it's like, here's a list of superfoods, you know? And every time you look at it, you're like, gosh, I feel like, okay, that one's always on there, but there's all these other ones. Well, what's the superfoods? I have a book like this big. As I am healing my gut, I'm able to have some of those things. So I like that it gave you specific recommendations for your superfoods as well. It gave me another layer to understanding my chronic inflammation, understanding what's going on in my body, knowing what foods I need to avoid, and knowing what I need to add. When it comes to, clients that I have, I definitely will recommend doing the Viome test because it's a gold standard. I can then help you to take a look at all that and put you on a much better plan than if I just try to guess and I say, let's eliminate this, let's try this. So that's what I found really encouraging, is that I was able to look at it, I could align it with the things that I was doing, and then I could also take their recommendations and create a elimination plan and work off of that and really analyze how I was feeling. Especially speaking to those of you that, like me, were eating a really healthy, mainly plant-based diet and still did not feel great and could not understand it. And this is before I had cancer. I understand a lot more now. But I would be eating these potentially healthy foods, but it wouldn't be effective because they could not be broken down into beneficial products for my body to use. So if your own personalized microbiome can't convert, then you're not really receiving the benefits of the food. And then it can become this, well, what do I eat? I mean, I've sat with clients that are just so frustrated because they're like, I'm sick, I'm tired, my skin's breaking out, my belly hurts, I feel horrible. And they're not sure what to do. And when I saw the list of the things that I had to minimize, I couldn't believe it, because there were a couple things on that list that I ate regularly, and I wonder now, were those the things that were also contributing to some of my problems? Now, I've been a nutrition coach for 15 years, and I know a lot about foods. I can educate, clients on going to the grocery store, what to look for when it comes to ingredients, teaching them to, read it, if you can't read it, don't eat it, teaching them if it's made in a lab, it's gonna make the body feel bad. All of those things are important things. However, when you have been riddled with inflammation and you have eaten really good and you can't make sense of the fact that, why is it that I'm eating so good and I'm still not feeling great? And then you start to realize that it's because possibly your diversity in your gut isn't what it needs to be. And so this test is great because it not only helps you to understand, here's what you have in your gut microbiome, but then this is the function, this is the role it plays, and here's your recommendations so that you know what you need to do in order to improve your gut health. And then finally, the other thing that's great is you can follow up with them, and then you can retest yourself, because it will change. You'll have about, I think I read 90 days of being on a specific or a new diet of some sort to really change the gut microbiome. So that's 3 months. 90 days is what it takes. So all of the fad diets, all of the things that people are doing to try things out and see if that works for me, or lowering their carbs or lowering their fats, or increasing their proteins, or even increasing your fiber. Fiber is great, but somebody who has SIBO possibly has to do some different things in order for their body to handle fiber. Fiber is a great thing. Fiber tones our colon, it helps to keep our blood glucose down. But if your body's not able to process some of the fibrous foods that come into your body, you can end up not feeling well. And it's not always just about the food. It also could be about the migrating motor complex, which is basically what stimulates your body in your intestines to kind of open the door and let those food particle bits through. SIBO, unfortunately, what happens is the bacteria backs up into the small intestine. Small intestine doesn't like it. That's where we get all kinds of autoimmune issues, and we don't feel good, and our bellies get big and distended and bloated, and we just feel terrible. So I loved that about this product, that you could follow up and you could see, Okay, I did this for 90 days. Now let's look at my gut diversity. Has it changed? Has it improved? Are there other areas that I need to look at? And so this can be something as you're walking through trying to improve your gut health, that you actually have something sustainable to look at and say, okay, here's what I need to do next. For somebody, a recommendation for fiber could be super beneficial, a high fiber diet. Somebody else, it could be really detrimental. And that was really difficult for me because I love fruits and vegetables. But I have found in my journey of healing my body. So let's talk about kidney stones, because I've never had kidney stones, but what's important is one of the things that it talks about is your oxalates. And oxalates are things like spinach, almonds, things like that. So those microbes that are in your gut will help to neutralize those oxalates. So you have a good spinach salad, it has some almonds, and so you have avocado and all kinds of good stuff, chicken on it, whatever you have, and you eat those. Your microbes, as long as you have the ones that you need, are going to then break down or neutralize some of the effects of those products. Now, if you don't have what you need, then here's the problem. Oxalates can bind to calcium, and so that can lead to kidney stones. So if your microbiome doesn't have the oxalate players, right, they don't come out to neutralize the situation, then what happens is you're just more at risk to getting kidney stones. So that's important to know, because, well, then what do I need to do? Do I need to avoid something, or do I need to add something? And those are the things that I learned. I do better when I do high quality meats and eggs and accompany that with lots of green vegetables. There's a lot of cruciferous vegetables that really affect my gut. There are things, a lot of fruits really affect my blood sugar. And when I read in my Viome test that my metabolic fitness was off, as well as my butyrate was off, I realized that that probably is one of the reasons that I'm getting so affected when I eat like sweet potatoes, when I eat fruits. And so I had to really start to analyze the food I was eating and writing it down to be able to see, like, okay, what is it that I need to change here? So I really believe one size fits one, and I think that's what they're saying too, because foods that are perfectly fine for one person wouldn't spike their blood sugar, wouldn't cause them all kinds of gastrointestinal stress, are horrible for somebody else. And so it can really be something that, instead of trying to have this cookie cutter approach to individuals that, you know, for me, that I was coaching, or the stuff that I'm reading online that I see people promoting, you know, eat this type of diet, this is the best way to eat, you know, no. You are all so unique in how your body is, how your own personal gut microbiome is, the diversity that you carry, the diseases that you've had, the exposure to the bacteria and the viruses and things like that that you have had. That is all going to play a role. I have a 12-week nutrition coaching program. I call it One Size Fits One, and this is where I feel like I really aligned with Viome, because they give you personalized macronutrient breakdown. Just remember, guys, don't wait. Make sure you're advocating for yourself so that you can kickstart your health journey, and that it's something that is sustainable. Get off the fad diets and really understand and be aware of what's going on in your own body. After suffering for 25 years with gut problems and understanding that the changes in my gut microbiome probably started when I got mono back when I was 17, and then I had food poisoning, and all of those things together combined with the college drinking probably didn't help my guts very much. It altered my system in a way that it affected my immune system, and it never really got better. I improved it by removing certain foods, by adding some supplements. But it's been a journey of learning, and that is why I wanted to share my experience with you. I hope it was helpful. I hope it helps you to decide if this is worth it. But honestly, I would give this one a complete thumbs up, total gold standard. I love it from the packaging all the way to how crystal clear their instructions were to do the test. The process of using the app on the phone and being able to see from the moment they get it to the moment they're analyzing it in the lab, and then all the results after that. The recommendations for your superfoods, your foods to avoid, the things that they're recommending to eliminate from your diet for a time, and then also the reminders on when you need to follow up with them. So I think it's a great product. I'm absolutely stoked that we have access to things like this finally. I wish it would have happened in my 20s, but we've come so far in our research when it comes to gut health, and it's just gonna get better. So I hope that this really helps you guys. And you can check out my other playlists for my water fasting videos and my Tracy's Got Guts. It's all on my SIBO healing journey. Thanks for watching.